Okay, so now we're going to be at the bottom part. If you had any trouble with the top part, you might have needed to click the reset arrow down in the right-hand corner before you do each one, okay? And that'll be important down here at the bottom. Otherwise, you're just gonna keep ending up with the same thing. So you wanna make sure that you do the little arrow to reset, which I'll show you in a second. Okay, so what we're gonna be doing now in this section is we're going to be looking at the ones that were unsaturated, and we're going to see if we can make them saturated. So if we have an unsaturated, meaning that I haven't dissolved as much as possible, if you think for a minute, what are things that I would do to make something more saturated? So if I'm making Kool-Aid and it's a pale purple color, it's unsaturated, what would I do to make it more saturated? Add more solute, right? Add more of the powder. If you add as much powder as you can, the molarity is going to just keep getting stronger and stronger. The concentration stronger and stronger, the molarity is going to increase. Within our app up here, the simulator, we're going to see what happens when we continue to add more solute, and then see if there's something else that we could do as well to be able to help us create something saturated. There's going to be another choice that we're going to need to run into, okay? All right, so first of all, we're just gonna pick a couple of each. So the drink mix was unsaturated. So if it's unsaturated, we're gonna go ahead and see if we can get a saturated molarity. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. The cobalt chloride was also unsaturated. I just picked a couple to do. And so again, we're gonna find out if we can get it to saturate. And then it says if it was saturated, so if any of the ones up above were saturated, then you're going to go ahead and determine what molarity it was first saturated. So at what point was it holding the very last piece of solute that it could, or the last drop of water that the sponge could hold up. So you're going to go ahead and slide the sliders until you see that there is just one piece of solute. Okay, so we'll do the gold chloride one because that one was also, that was the saturated one. Okay, so I'll do a couple examples for you. All right, so let's first off go up to the drink mix. Okay, so you want to make sure that you are resetting with the arrow. So reset everything, and then you want to make sure that you have the solution values clicked. Okay, so drink mix right now, we know it's unsaturated. So to make it more saturated, make it more concentrated, I'm going to go ahead and add more solute. So I'm going to add it until I see if there's any crystals that drop out, that meaning, oops, it's saturated, it can't hold anymore. So I can see the colors getting darker and darker, but I'm still able to dissolve it. It's not just settling to the bottom. Okay, so I was able to increase the solute as much as I could. So now our solution, if you look on the right, is 2 molar. And it's still not saturated. So it says to try whatever I can within the parameters. So if you think, what else would be something that I could do that would make it more concentrated? So I could go back, start over again, and decrease the amount of water that I add. So if I go ahead now and decrease the amount of water, I can see it's getting darker and darker. You can look on the right and see the molarity, the concentration's getting higher and higher. It's getting darker and darker. Okay, so within the parameters of this app, which only goes up to 5 molar, I've put in as much solute as I can in the smallest amount of water. I was not able to get a saturated solution. All right, so you're gonna go back down now to here, and it said if you were able to create a saturated solution within the parameters, record the corresponding saturated molarity. So this one we were not able to within the parameters of this because it only goes to 5 molar. Okay, all right, so now let's try, we'll skip down. The cobalt chloride was another one that was unsaturated. So you're gonna go up to here, make sure you reset with the arrow in the corner, and then go ahead and click solution values. And we're going to go ahead and change now to cobalt chloride. Okay, so we're at 1 molar. We've got half a mole of solute to half a liter. So I want to make it more saturated, more concentrated, so I'm going to add more solute. So I'm going to take the slider over here and add more. Let's see if it gets more. Okay, so the color got darker, but it was able to dissolve all that extra solute, and now it's 2 molar. So we'll try now to see if we can dissolve that amount in less water. So I'm going to decrease the amount of water. So if I start decreasing the amount of water, bam. Okay, so I can create a saturated solution. We want to go ahead now and try to navigate the slider so it's literally when 1 crystal or 2 crystals drops out. So if I have 1 mole of solute in 0.227 liters, I have a 4.35 molar solution that's now saturated. So meaning that's holding as much solute as it possibly can, that now some of it has to settle to the bottom. So now we know it's saturated. So it says on our paper to go ahead and record the corresponding saturated molarity. So for my cobalt now, it's saturated at 4.35 molar. And that's how we got that one to be saturated. Okay, so this one we weren't able to within the parameters, and this one we were able to do at that. All right, now last one, we're gonna go ahead, the gold 3-chloride was a saturated solution to start with. So now we're gonna see when did it become saturated. So again, we're gonna reset. We're gonna click for our solution values. And now we're gonna pick gold chloride, or no, sorry, not gold chloride, potassium, sorry, potassium dichromate. Sorry, I looked at the wrong line. All right, so it's saturated right now. We want to see when did it very, very, very first become saturated, at what concentration. So we can either